just want to say a couple of things. I'll be brief, as Brendan wants us to be. I'm part of a group called the Spectacle of Defiance and Hope. We've been together for about 6 or 7 years, resisting and fighting against austerity. We are a community-based movement for radical change and for a radical egalitarian Ireland. We support radical dissent, and we really support what's happening today. The privatisation of water is very much part of our government strategy for domination, for discipline and for control. It's a way of disciplining and controlling the population in this country economically and symbolically by making us pay time and time again. They have made us pay through property taxes, they have made us pay through cuts to education, they have made us pay through cuts to health. I say today, enough is enough. Just a simple message from the Spectacle today is to say that another Ireland is possible, another world is possible, with people at the centre and where everybody gets to flourish, not just a small group.
It's abolished, but there's another message that we must send out, loud and clear to this government. Working people cannot afford to pay for charges. They've had enough and they're not taking any more. There's a lot of talk about next Tuesday's budget and the fact that in next Tuesday's budget they'll be giving tax breaks to the people at the top. Tax breaks to people at the top, but water tax for those of us who can't afford to pay any more tax. Those unable to pay are on poverty pay. In-work poverty has become rampant throughout Ireland. Workers on 0 hours contract don't know what kind of a week's wages they'll have next week. We're part of this campaign. We won't be put off by ignorant armistices who want to throw us down. The unions will stay part of this, and only workers, by organising in unions, can they fight back, and only by workers sticking together will they get their rights. Down with water tanks and organise across your workplaces. Thank you.
From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! And that's bollocks. Can you not do better than that? One more time. From the river to the sea! Go on, the people! I'd just like to say, before I start this, Joan Burton, if you're here, I don't think you are, my phone cost me 20 euros. No really it did. And I would have gone cheaper, but there wasn't a cheaper one in the shop. Cheers, Joan. This one's for you. This is also for everybody who showed up here today. To every man, woman and child that still believes that this island is worth the fight. It's called Was It For This? Was it for this the pagans strove, with woven baskets born of love, to worship at the altar of the harvest god Crom Dubh? As the sun rose up the reek and then set down the other side, to summon pilgrims to its peak to come from far and wide. Before the Christians came to Ireland and proceeded to rename it, Croagh Patrick as it stands today, well proudly they proclaim it, as a place of modern pilgrimage and not the site of ancient heritage that history forgot. Was it for this? The Druids stood before the old gods of the trees and founded schools within their groves to learn the mysteries that lay buried in the branches and encoded in the leaves as the language of the earth written there for all to see. Was this why they came between the people and the great divine and shed the blood of mortal flesh to prophesy through time? Was this the future they once saw? Was it this they had in mind when they foretold in days of old what's born can never die? Was it for the only empire in Rome that still exists? To confiscate her island, though some would still insist that we were never conquered, that somehow we escaped in spite of all the plundered land and the children that were raped? Was it the rules they teach in schools they claim were set in stone, that have rendered us like lambs to collapse if left alone, that now bring us back in droves to a church that we've outgrown, but are scared to leave or to believe we're better on our own? Was it for the famine for the Irish Holocaust that was rarely thus examined, but in truth the human cost was inflicted on this island by the British, and yet peace is supposed to be some pure and noble diplomatic feat. But Mandela fought for what is right and was called a terrorist by the same people who in death have claimed his right to coexist, was never left in any doubt nor disputed in the slightest, because the darkest stars that ever were in death will shine the brightest. Was it for Biffo, citing Lisbon as the only show in town, inviting Europeans to kick us while we're down, inciting fear amongst the people in need of some relief from the systematic slaughter of a nation's self-belief? Was it for drum and bow in Anglo, picking fingers from their arse, singing Nazi anthems to elucidate the farce of both the major parties, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, for pretending key decisions are still made within the Dáil? Was it for this? Some keepers of the peace have forgotten the translation of An Garda Síochána, or was it infiltration that has set the force upon the course of corporate racketeering at the expense of innocence for private profiteering? Well, the greatest crime there's ever been on this island is ongoing, as the IMF still strip us clean and bare despite our knowing. Yet their crimes are somehow normalised and accepted as deserved by the dogs within our government and the masters that they serve. Was it for the US flights of extraordinary rendition, stopping off at Shannon on the way to their perdition, as if it's nothing more than a casual decision to be complicit in the torturing of innocent civilians? But instead of pushing peace, we imprison the protesters and determine their release at the whim of the investors who have bought and sold this island for the promises of oil in pipes they plan on laying on what once was farming soil. But the cows are gone, and the people are gone, and the farms they're left to fail. Now they probe the seas for oil and gas, the lakes and land for shale. Well, the sycophants and the psychopaths clap backs within the pale, with an onus on the bonus for the speedy fire sale of our water and electric that can both be ours for free, with a sly recalculation of our own priorities. If instead of paying billions for a debt we never owed, we invested in renewables and let the future flow. Was it for the lattes with ciabattas and goat's cheese? For the double mocha frappes, sculpted quiffs and skinny jeans? For the oh my gods, the fuck my lives, the you don't understand, the like you knows, the BFFs, the let's make dinner plans? Was it really for the hipsters, or are they just a glitch in the evolutionary motherboard of momentary twitch that normally exists in every generation but is normally ignored by righteous indignation? Was it for this? The proclamation was read out upon these steps. Are we gonna pay these charges? Are we gonna resist Irish water at every step? Well, I think this has to be the beginning. We will not let them steal our water. We will not let them steal our resources and sell them back to us. We will not let Dennis O'Brien, the richest man in the country, put water meters in and sell our water back to us.
The robbery has to end. The resistance has to begin, and it must escalate from here. So I just want to say to people, today the people came to Dublin. I'd say there's 100,000 of us. On November the 1st, let's take people out on the streets in every town, in every village, in every county, and let's bring the country to a standstill. We've done it in Dublin, now we do it everywhere. We stop them. This is the people, this is the democracy, and we have to take our country back. So go back on November the 1st, mobilise and bring the country to a standstill.